Good afternoon and welcome to Think Safety First. I am your host, Jacob Adolphus, and with me today is Mr. Zebalon McLean, our fire chief here in the Virgin Islands. And today we're looking at fire safety at our home and our children. Mr. McLean, how are you today?
I am well, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. Give us some information or some tips of how we can make our home as much as possible fire safe, and our children understand the safety, not the safety, but the reason for practicing fire safety.
Well, as is the case with most things, you have to start with a plan.
Right.
Every business should have a plan to deal with fire. Every school should have a plan to protect their children. And even your own home should have some kind of plan. The children should know if there's a fire, which door to run out through, where to go, and especially where we're all going to meet up. You should have some kind of assembly point. And each child should know where that assembly point is. If the child doesn't show up, then you know you're going to have to go and look for that child.
Right.
Secondly, when it comes to different fire safety measures, a lot of us know what we're supposed to do, and many of us even preach it. But in the home itself, we actually don't have it. We know the importance of smoke detectors. We know the importance of having an extinguisher on hand.
Right.
We know the importance of having an escape route, a plan, even a fire escape or an escape ladder. But how many of us actually have it?
Oh, I believe none of us.
Right. Very few of us.
Yes.
So it's good to talk the talk, but we have to walk the walk as well. And then when these children get fire safety information, whether from this broadcast or from the school, and they come home all enthusiastic about it, some of us parents like say, well, don't worry about that, man, we'll be all right. But that shouldn't be so.
No.
And the way a child will learn is for you to actually have these things in place. If you don't put them in place, then they're going to forget all about that. And they could very well end up getting hurt in the long run.
So quickly, question. You spoke about having a plan.
Yes.
And in regards to having an escape route.
Yes.
And an assembly point.
Yes.
Now, is there a special place in your yard that you would assemble or is it dependent on the fire?
Well, it depends on the layout of where you live. What you want is you want the spot to be ideally far away from the house.
Okay.
That way that if no matter where the smoke goes, you won't be affected by the smoke. You want to be safe. You want to be able to see all around you. You want it not to be in an area where you have heavy vehicular traffic.
Okay.
You don't want it in any place where it's too steep or it is uneven that you might actually come out and then end up slipping and falling.
Right.
So the assembly point has to be as safe as possible, a reasonable distance away from the house where everyone can come and gather.
Okay. So the reason for the question is that if, for instance, at my home, I said that my assembly point is the east corner of the parking lot, which is the furthest distance from my home. But when the fire starts, the wind blows in the east direction where I'm at, even though it's the furthest point.
Right.
Would that still be a safe point?
What you ideally want to do is to have one set assembly point. But like I mentioned before, you want it to be a reasonable distance away. Okay. So let's say this area is your home. You would want to be able to assemble maybe about not a quarter mile, but almost a quarter mile away in a straight line.
Okay.
So that way you're far enough away. You can see all around you. You can see the fire, and you're not in the line of fire or in the line of smoke, I would say.
Okay. All right. Now, in regard to the smoke detectors, is there a special place in your home to place the detectors, or you just put it in the kitchen?
Well, what ideally you would like to do is to have one detector on the ceiling of each room.
Okay.
Because you never can tell which room you might have a fire beginning from. So if you just put it in the kitchen and then you have, unfortunately, an electrical short in another room, then you would never hear it.
Right.
So you can start in the kitchen, but as time goes by, and maybe you didn't budget for it, one by one, try to outfit the entire house with smoke detectors.
All right. You also spoke about having a fire extinguisher.
Yes.
Is it a special size or is it a special type of extinguisher? Could I just buy one of those little nice fancy looking one?
Well, I would recommend at least 10 pounds.
Okay.
And to be placed just outside the kitchen. And also, you should make sure whatever you do, the children know exactly what you're doing and exactly why they're there.
Okay.
Because you might be involved in some kind of activity and then a smoke detector goes off in another room and you don't hear it. So the child can come and tell you, Daddy, the smoke detector is going off.
Okay.
Or, where's the extinguisher? But Daddy, remember you put it down here behind the map. So whatever you do, let the child know what you're doing and why you're doing it.
All right. So is it safe to say that when the smoke detector goes off, you run to the smoke detector with your extinguisher in hand?
No. The smoke detector is supposed to alert you to the sign of a fire. When you hear the smoke detector, what you're trying to do is to get out of the building, to get out of the house. And then the adult who's the most versed or the strongest, that person would then investigate.
Okay.
If you see the smoke detector going off, and you don't see any smoke, just keep going.
All right.
And then let one of the adults investigate as exactly why it's going off.
Okay. Hence the reason why, as you said earlier, the plan should be known or memorized by all persons.
Yes, everyone in the house. Everyone in the house.
So nobody will, for example, in the plan, we would say, as you said, let's assume the strongest person is the dad.
Yes.
The plan will say, okay, Daddy will take the fire extinguisher and do what he has to do with it.
Yes, everybody else.
Everybody else evacuate the building. Mommy make sure that they go to the assembly point and stay there until Daddy gets there.
Yes, absolutely.
Do we in that plan, do we say, okay, well, if after 10 minutes we don't see Daddy come, we run back into the fire and find him?
No. You never go back into a burning building. By that time, hopefully the emergency services will be on hand and they'll be there to give you a hand.
Okay. Because, plenty of us look at television and we see our loved one inside there and want to get to our loved one and trying to be a firefighter at the same time.
Well, television is very entertaining, but it's not real life.
So okay, tell me something about fire, about not only fire safety at home, but some of the measures that you can put in place other than extinguisher and smoke detector.
One of the things that you should try to keep in the kitchen is something called a fire blanket. It's a very thick blanket. And with that, if there's a fire on the stove, instead of trying to throw water on it, you can just smother it with the blanket.
Okay.
Also, there are some of those chemicals. I know in the kitchen we have a whole bunch of chemicals that we tend to put in the bottom drawer. Try to separate them as much as possible. Because when you mix them, they get along very well.
All right.
When it comes to matches, try to keep matches and oil and everything out of the reach of the children.
Okay.
Make sure you keep them on an upper shelf or lock them away. I said earlier that the children should know everything you do when it comes to the fire safety installations. They don't need to know where the matches are. They don't need to know where the oils are. They don't need to know where the lighter fluid is.
Okay. What about I saw recently that there's a lot of these, which I'm glad that you are here so I could get some information about it. These plastic socket plugs that they put into the outlet that prevent anything from going in, so a child cannot stick their finger into the outlet.
Yes,
how
those
safe is that? Because it's plastic into electrical.
Well, those are child safety caps. Plastic doesn't conduct electricity.
Okay.
And that prevents the children from sticking metal forks and spoons into the outlets.
Okay.
So along with telling them, don't go near the outlet, you put that as an extra guard to make sure they don't electrocute themselves or start a fire. All
right. So in the event we don't have a fire extinguisher in our home, we don't have a smoke detector in our home, and a fire starts, an electrical fire starts, then what should we do?
You should get out as quickly as possible, call 911, try to get the emergency services there, and do not for any reason go back into the building.
Okay.
If you left your purse with your money, with your phone, whatever you left, leave it in there. Because you got away once, you might not get away twice.
Okay. So then what about if when I am evacuating my home with my family members, I pass the breaker box on my out? Should I take off all the breakers or should I just keep going?
You have to make sure everyone is out. If you are running with a child and you stop, the child may stop as well. And then when the smoke starts, the building, look around, you might not find the child.
Okay.
So the first and the most important priority is to get out.
All right. So you heard it first right here from our chief fire officer. Get out the house.
Yes. If there's a fire, get out the building.
Okay. What about smoke?
Well, if there's fire or smoke, you get out the building. Because smoke, where there's smoke, there is fire.
All right. All right. So is there any other thing that you would like to share with us just before we close off this segment in regards to fire safety at our home and our children?
What you have to do is you have to insist that the people on your job, the upper brass, the executive committees at your school, and the landlords have some kind of fire safety measures or some kind of plan in place.
Okay.
You can't just be there without anything to think about. You have to have some kind of route, some kind of map, some kind of space that you can run to. You have to make sure that before you run, you know where you're running to. Some of the configuration of the apartment buildings can be a little complicated, but you're still going to have to maneuver your way out and find a safe place to go.
Okay. So as you said, some of the apartment buildings is kind of difficult to maneuver your way. We know most of our apartment buildings here, they have is this one entrance and exit. Is the same way in, the same way out. How is there any way that the rentals can purchase a rope ladder or some sort of emergency device that they can tie to the back porch or the front porch, wherever it may be?
Yes,
to help them get out.
They do have those to sale. They do have those rope ladders to sale, and that should be no problem. They're light and they're easy to operate. Just throw it over and then you go down the ladder.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. McLean, for being with us here today and sharing a wealth of information on fire safety and at our homes and for our children. Thank you very much once again.
Yes, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And I want to say, you heard it first right here on Think Safety First. So until we see next time, think safety first.